How are you today? Yay! I've really missed you guys. I have absolutely missed coming on live. I didn't realize how much I've missed coming on live. Oh. Hi. I didn't realize, right? So please let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know that you can hear me, right? I've really missed coming on live. People says welcome back. Honestly, so it's, you know how work can get, life can really get busy and all. So yeah. How are we doing? Good evening. Please let me know that you can hear me. Hi. Let me know that you can hear me. And I hope the lighting is good and the sound is good and you can hear me. So I've typed today's topic. Good evening. Yes. Indeed, I have missed coming on live. And I said in the post I put up, I think today, that I was invited to be in a live session. This week. It was this week, right? And thank you for confirming. Great. And you know, while we're talking, we talked about so many different things. I intend to go back again and watch that live again. And if you missed it and you want to see what I talked about, it's on the Dear Young Professional platform, right? An amazing work going on there, helping young professionals be able to integrate into the workspace and generally build great careers, all right? So, welcome, and I'm happy to be doing this. So, a bit of background, right? For those who are joining my live, and one of the other reasons why I wanted to do this live, right, is that I have a lot of new followers, okay, who haven't heard me talk before. You know, they've come onto the page, they've seen the page, okay, it kind of makes sense what she's saying, you know, but they never really heard me talk before, you know, and I know that, you know, it's in talking, you know, and sharing and connect that builds the connection better. So I think I'm going to try to be faithful for the next couple of weeks, maybe till year end, to come on live, you know, every Sunday evening. And this is Sunday Tonic, all right? So I'll say welcome to Sunday Tonic. Why the name Sunday Tonic? The first time I went live on this page to begin to share tips to be happier at work was we talked about gossip at work, if I remember. I think it was May 1st last year. And then I asked people, do they think that it was a Friday or a Thursday? I can't remember now. And I asked people that, okay, what do they think? Do they think we should do it, you know, on which day of the week do they think we should do the lives, all right? And people said we should do Sunday. And we thought about it now. For those of us who live in Nigeria, you would realize, right, if you live in Nigeria and you went to a boarding house, okay, you remember that in boarding house on Sunday evenings, we're usually given what was called a Sunday tablet, all right, Daraprim, right, this very tiny tablet, which is supposed to be anti-malaria, okay, and so that was the whole idea for Sunday Tonic, all right. So this is Sunday Tonic, right? So we give you a tonic, you know, a little tablet to help you to be happier at work. Remember that this is the Happy Employee Network. I'm the Happy Employee Coach. So let me introduce myself. If you're catching me for the first time on the live, you've never heard me speak before, and you're wondering what's this lady about, my name is Nneka Jethri Wobi, all right? I think I like man too much, so I took my husband's first name and his surname. I made it my surname, all right? But that's on the side, okay? So I have been in corporate Nigeria for about 14 years. And over the period of those 14 years, I have gotten experiences, you know, that make me wonder, or that piqued my interest and made me curious as to why some people were happy at work and some people were not just happy at work, all right? So for example, I found out, because in the course of my work requires me to interact with people around salary and around pay, all right? And in the course of that work, I found out that some people were happy at work in spite of how much they earned, while others were happy at work even though they earned a lot. They were not happy at work, okay? And, you know, I found out that many people lived in fear of work, in fear of their bosses. And I wasn't one of those people, right? And I had a wake-up call in 2019 that made me realize that many people, the things I took for granted, things that I thought I was doing normally were chill, you know, were normal to me, were not necessarily normal to others. Okay, so last year I started sharing, all right, how to be happy at work, okay? And I realized that the emotion you feel about work determines how productive you are at work. That's the truth. You may never have sat down to process it before, but the emotion you feel about work determines how productive you are at work. And how productive you are at work, how connected you are to work, determines if you get promotion, determines how fast your career will advance. Okay, if you've worked 3, 4, 5 years, you would understand this. If you're able to be more productive, your career will move better because you are able to bring more value to the table. Okay, so that's about me and why the name Happy Employee Coach. I want 9-to-5ers, I want career professionals to be happy at work regardless of where they work, how much they earn, or how long they've worked. All right, so that's why the name Happy Employee Coach. Okay, so having done that introduction, let's get into today's gist. I like to keep the lives a bit short so that people can easily, come back and watch the live, later on and catch something for the week. Again, like I said, the whole idea for the live is for you to be able to say to yourself, what can I gain that will make my week happier, that will make my week easier, that will make my week, more fun and more engaging. Okay, so welcome everyone and thanks for hanging here. Please, before we go on, send the live to somebody that someone that has the 9-to-5. It will be a very short live. I promise you I won't waste your data, I won't waste your time. And for those who have ever been on my lives, please give us a thumbs up. Let me know that that the lives are usually value adding. So let's know in the comment section that lives are value adding. Send the notification, send the live to your friends who are 9-to-5ers, who are career professionals, so that they can come on here and also learn. All right, so boundaries in the workplace. All right, what does a boundary mean? And I didn't want to go into dictionary definition and all that stuff. So I said a boundary, right, is an item or a set of items, right, that demarcates. A boundary is a set of items or an item that demarcates, all right, that separates properties. It indicates it sets the walls of ownership. It defines the range of ownership, all right. So that's what a boundary does. So when you have like a border, if you buy a property, you have land, you need to know, okay, so where is the mark of the land? Do you understand? So that's what a boundary is, boundary borders. Okay, so setting a mark, setting a delineation, saying, okay, this area belongs to XYZ person, this area belongs to XYZ nation. It sets the borders, it sets the walls of sovereignty. So you have things like the wall of China, and you have things like President Trump, who was going to build a wall, to say, oh, we want to limit the number of people who are coming in, and so we have borders and we have boundaries, all right? So we'll talk about boundaries at work, okay? Why are boundaries necessary? If we're talking about boundaries at work, why are they necessary at work, okay? If boundaries define borders and define the limits of ownership and responsibility, what is it about boundaries that talk about in the workplace? So if you've seen a boundary, every country has borders. If you live in Lagos, if you live anywhere you are, right, your country has a border. There is a line where we know that, you don't go beyond this place. This place is our own place, belongs to us, all right? So that's what boundaries do, okay? So I'm talking about this because I talk a lot about relationships at work. I talk about relationships at work, and I find, right, that sometimes people think that relationships at work mean that I just, live my whole life open for everybody to see, and anybody can talk to me anyhow, and do anything and get away with it. No, that's not what we mean when we're talking about relationships at work, and that's why I'm talking about boundaries in the workplace today. So first of all, we define what boundaries are. A boundary defines ownership. A boundary defines the scope of responsibility. A boundary defines the scope of interference, prevents interference, all right? A boundary restricts, right? Borders restrict, boundaries restrict. It's like if you're in a boarding house and you now left the school, you scaled the wall to leave school, so you've broken through a border, you've broken through a boundary, right? And why is that border there? Why is that boundary there? It's to protect what is inside. Guys, do you get this? The boundary, the border is there to protect what is inside. Do you get? So that's why we need boundaries. Boundaries are for protection. Boundaries are for protection. All right, they are for protection. They are to define what can come in or go out. So you see things like dogs do. They use urine to mark around where they live. To say another dog coming by knows that, okay, there's someone already in charge of this area. I need to be careful. All right. So boundaries are for protection. Boundaries are for protection. Okay. Boundaries in the workplace define the limits of ownership. The boundaries in the workplace tell you what's your responsibility. It tells you what you will allow. It tells you what you will disallow. Okay. Boundaries help you define capacity or extent of capability. All right. So what we're talking about boundaries in the workplace, and boundaries. And when I'm talking about the workplace, I will narrow it to the workplace. But generally in life, we need boundaries. All right. That's why you have a door on your gate, on your house. You have a door so that people know that, okay, if you breach this, if you push your way through, you have broken through something that you don't have access to, right? So boundaries define access. They define the limits of access. Boundaries are for protection, okay? Now, we all have an innate desire for wholeness. Every human being has an innate desire for wholeness. All right, that's about things like private and public parts. The things you don't want people to see, things you don't want people to touch. You know, some people say, "Oh, don't touch my hair. Touch my hair, I feel uncomfortable." Every human being, okay. Oh, okay, Favor. Yes, there is a fan. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pull back a bit. So, guys, just a second. Yes, there's a fan, but I thought it was really low. Just a second. I'll pull back a bit, right? So that, apologies about the noise. So that I don't, yeah, I'll pull back a bit. Sorry guys, I'll pull back a bit. So people, let me know if you can still hear the noise. It's a bit hot where I am, so yeah, I wanted the fan to be able to blow. So let me know if it's better now. Okay? Let me know if it's better now. I've pulled back from the fan a little bit. So let me know if it's better now. NEPA decided not to cooperate with me today and leave power on. So people, let me know if it's better. If you can hear me, let me know. Let me know. People, can you hear me? Or is it still? Guys, let me know if I can go on, right? But I'll go on in the meantime. I'll just go on. I've pulled back from the fan a little bit, right? I've pulled back from the fan a little bit, so I want to hope that you can hear me and it's better. Okay, so I'll just repeat what I was saying before, for sake of, you know, if anyone missed it. So I was talking about boundaries and what boundaries are. Boundaries are to protect. Boundaries define the limit of access. Boundaries tell you what you're responsible for. Boundaries, you know, set the limit of responsibility. All right. Boundaries define access. All right. And I was saying that why are we talking about? Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Why are we talking about boundaries? All right. We're talking about boundaries because fundamentally, right, every human being comes with that need for wholeness, and boundaries help us create wholeness. Right, and I was saying that we have things like, you know, public parts and private parts of your body, things that everybody should not see, things that everybody should not have access to, and everybody has some things that they know, their personal pet peeves, right? So you have people who will say things like, "Oh, don't touch my hair." Do you understand? I don't like when people touch my hair. You have people who say things like, "Oh, I'm not really into hugs" and stuff like that. All right, so boundaries are to help us to preserve, to protect, to limit access, all right, to help us establish wholeness. And every human being, and if you think about it, we all have a desire for that wholeness, for that uniqueness. You want to be able to have certain level of control. So boundaries help you define the span of control. I almost say hallelujah right there, right? Because it just makes so much sense as I'm talking about it. Boundaries help define the span of control, the reach of influence. Boundaries are extremely important. They're a natural bit of our lives. So I want to establish that at the beginning so that you know that it's not a case of, oh, there's something odd about me, you know, I'm not comfortable with this, I don't like this, I don't like that. No. Boundaries are for protection. Boundaries limit access. Boundaries define the scope of responsibility. Boundaries are to preserve, right? These are things that boundaries are for, and we need boundaries. All of us as human beings come with an innate desire for boundaries. That desire helps us establish wholeness, preserves our identity. Remember I said boundaries are for identity. Preserves our identity, helps us feel like, you know, I'm a whole person. Do you understand? And helps you with your sense of identity. So we all do need boundaries, all right? So boundaries are very important, all right? And I think boundaries also, and especially I think for the guys, and every human being, right? Boundaries help us define sovereignty. They define the scope of our control. So, you know, there's nothing, and which is why when things like, you know, that violate your person, as in your physical body, happen to anybody, you know, it's very traumatic because there's a need to function as a human being. You need to have some level of control, and that level of control starts with your own body. Okay, it starts with your own body, all right? I don't know I'm even going in this direction, in these examples, but we'll just go on. Okay, so boundaries are a necessary bit of our lives. They are very important. I'm repeating this so that everyone on the call establishes and gets comfortable with the fact that it's okay to want to have boundaries around your life at work. It is okay. There is nothing wrong with that. It's a natural human desire, and it is very good for you to say, I want to have boundaries, I want to define how I'm treated and all of that. Okay? What boundaries are not in the workplace? Let's get it out of the way also. What boundaries are not in the workplace? Boundaries are not about minding your business in the way we tend to define it. right? Many of us define minding our business as I get into work, I look at my laptop, and I'm there, and I'm doing nothing else. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not making connections. I'm not relating to anybody. I don't do my work. Email me. Anything I'm discussing has to do with the work. That's not what I'm talking about here. Okay? It's also not about being rude. Boundaries are not a license to say I'm going to be rude and tell people off. No. That is not what we are talking about. Alright? It's not about being rude and telling people off. No, it's not. That's not what boundaries are about. Alright? So, boundaries preserve, protect, define the limit of access, define the span of influence and control. Alright? Define, the sphere of influence of a person, a thing, or a nation. Alright? So let's look at the kinds of boundaries in the workplace. Now, again, if as human beings we all come with the inner desire to have boundaries, right? So in the workplace, how does that pan out? Now, in the workplace, it's important to talk about boundaries. Why? Because in the workplace, we come together as a community to achieve goals. Alright? So we come together as a community in the workplace to achieve goals. So we must relate to each other. Alright? We'll relate to each other. We'll say hi. We'll say good morning. We'll give feedback. We'll take feedback. Do you understand? We will discuss projects. We must have interactions in the workplace. That is the way work gets done. And because there must be interactions, we're not even machines, all right? There will be a need for boundaries to be set because there will be interactions. There will be, I get to tell you how I think something should be done. There will be you telling me back, oh, I don't agree. There will be the other person saying, oh, this is how I think you should do it. There will be someone saying, I don't think I like the way you've done it. All of those things happen in the workplace. And because we are human beings, and we're fundamentally different. We are coming from different backgrounds. We have loads of different experiences. Our perspectives have been shaped by our backgrounds and our perspectives. Because of that reason, we're different. And because, again, boundaries are supposed to preserve and protect your sense of wholeness, it's important that why boundaries are necessary in the workplace is to define how you can preserve your wholeness, preserve your identity, all right, and help you work at your best. Again, I want to pause and say, send the live to friends who are 9-to-5ers, who are career professionals, and let them join the live so they can learn about boundaries in the workplace and know and have that sense of wholeness preserved. I feel like many of us go to work and because we're not quite sure how to respond, or we overreact, or we say things we're not supposed to say, we're not able to preserve that wholeness, preserve our identity, which we need to be able to work well. We need to be able to work well, okay? So, we talk about boundaries in the workplace because we must relate to each other. We must connect with each other. That's why we talk about boundaries. Talk about boundaries because everybody's different. Our perspectives to life, our thinking about how life should run, our thought patterns are different, and that's why we talk about boundaries in the workplace. So, what are the 3 kinds of boundaries I want to talk about today? There are 3 kinds of boundaries I want to talk about today. Number 1 is time boundaries. Time boundaries. All right. I want to talk about time boundaries today. Number 1 is time boundaries. When I'm talking about time boundaries in the workplace, I'm talking about setting the rule, setting the framework around how your time will be used by your employer. It's very important. And I say to people that usually it's in your first 1 month, first 6 weeks of working that you're able to define this. And you're not just defining it because you want to say, oh, I won't do anything extra. You are defining it because you need the time off work to do stuff that are not related to work, so that you can be more productive at work. I'll say that again. You're not setting the boundaries of time just because you want to be insubordinate or you don't want to contribute or you just want to be funny. No. You are setting the boundaries because you need time off work to do things not related to work so you can be more productive at work. It's fundamental. If you keep digging at something and you are thinking of work and you are dreaming work and you're eating work, your productivity levels will dip. Economics call it this. I think is when diminishing return sets in. All right. So you need that time. So that's why it's important, right? You staying at work forever, Sunday to Sunday, depletes and your energy levels, diminishes your productivity levels. You need time off work, doing stuff unrelated to work, to be able to ginger you to be more productive. So that's what I'm talking about. So it's not a case of, oh, no, I'm not going to do anything when they say I should do. My letter is 8 to 5. That's not what I'm talking about. That's the framework, but that's not what I'm talking about. All right? Because again, we all know that our letters usually say NWT as assigned. And if you are a true member of the team, you want the team to succeed, that should reflect in the way you bring your A game, bring yourself. You're willing to go the extra mile and donate that your time to the project. All right, so that's what I'm talking about, time boundaries. All right, time boundaries are extremely important, and I will share examples of how I've set time boundaries in the past. Like I said, it's usually in the first month or two, the first 6 weeks of working, especially when you're working in a new place, that it's easier to set those time boundaries. All right, and I say set time boundaries, and one way to make it work, let me just say this so I don't forget, is this: create other stuff outside work that you'll be doing with your time off work. That's a lot to take. Let me say it again. Create other stuff outside work that you will do with your time off work. That is one way to be able to enforce time boundaries. So, I am on Saturday, I have to do XYZ. All right? It's fine that XYZ is sleeping. That's something important that you need to do. All right? But you must deliberate about having something else you're using your time to do. Otherwise, the tendency and the temptation is that if you have extra work that you haven't finished over the week, you are tempted to pick it up. And that will not help your productivity. That will not even help at the times when you really do need to shut down and be away from work. Okay, so time boundaries are very important for your mental well-being. Again, remember that boundaries help us preserve our sense of wholeness. They help us preserve our sense of identity. Time boundaries help us preserve that sense of uniqueness, that sense of control. And every human being needs to have that sense of control. I'm in control of my life. And that's what happens to many of us in the workplace, right? One of the reasons why we're frustrated at work is because we feel like we've lost a sense of our control of our lives. We feel like the control of our lives is no longer in our hands. How many people understand what I'm talking about? That's one of the things that frustrates you, when you feel like I don't have control over my time. Which is why some people say things like, oh, let's all leave 9 to 5 and go and face business. Then you see the business people say, I left my 9 to 5 because I wanted to have control over my time. I ended up working 24 hours a day. Do you get? So every human being wants to have that sense of control of their time. So I say to you, in the first few weeks, first few months of working, set the time boundaries. And one great tip to help you is to make sure that there is something else that you are doing with that time. If it's sleep, schedule the sleep. If it's movies that is your thing, schedule it. All right? And communicate. Okay? I'm sharing tips around time boundaries now. And communicate. All right? Communicate formally and informally. All right? Formally, like, oh, someone says they want you to come and do something, and you're like, oh no, I'm not available XYZ time because I'm going to be doing this on Saturday and on Sunday, and on Thursday evening at 7, I won't be available because I need to be in church, or whatever it is. Set time boundaries. Again, I'm saying this, I'm repeating myself. You're not doing this because you don't want to contribute, you don't want to give your best, but it's important that you do things outside work. No, how did I say it before? Do things off work, not related to work, so that you can be more productive at work. It's extremely important. Okay? So set time boundaries. Now, time boundaries, there are ways to set time boundaries, like I was saying, both formally and informally. Alright? So you can do stuff like communicating clearly and saying, oh no, I'm available XYZ time because I usually do this. I usually do 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? You can set them informally inside gist. Man, on Thursday I say, oh man, on Saturday, I'm so looking forward to XYZ place that I'm going to be going to with my friends. You're informally communicating that time is off work and is for stuff not related to work. Okay, so that's one thing with time boundaries. Another thing that I also have done is subtly, okay, subtly, without words, just by my demeanor, just by the way my face is, just by my kind of responses in a meeting, so everything is going on and it's dragging. I really want to go, either because of church or whatever reason, and as the time is approaching, my demeanor changes, right? I'm a bit more serious, I'm a bit more focused, less chatty. So I'm like, oh, sorry guys, can we just get back to what we're talking about so that we can quickly wrap up, I really, or when I was a much younger person in my career, my demeanor would show that, oh, I really do want to leave. So they may crack jokes, I may not laugh, I may look at my research a couple of times, because, oh, I need to leave. I'm sending those signals, all right? Another thing that you can do, so someone will say to me, oh, Neka, you have said that, or happy employee coach, you are saying that, oh, it's better in the first few months of my career to establish about time boundaries. So what if that's too late, I've already been working here for 3 or 4 years, what do I do now? Here's what I recommend that you do. Engage. Have a conversation with your boss or your line manager and say, you know what, I've discovered that the weekends when I do XYZ, my productivity during the week is deep. I discovered that when I've had to work back-to-back long hours, that's when I now fall sick XYZ time. So I want to now structure deliberately into my weekends, into my evenings, rest time, recreation time. Have that conversation and have what you want to do with that time and take action. Have what you want to do with that time and take action. Let's not just be for saying sake or for talking sake, all right? Have what you want to do in that time and take action, okay? Guys, let me know that you're here. It's making sense so far. You're hearing what I'm saying. You know, it's making sense, but let me know that you're here and it's making sense so far. Like I said, it's not going to be too long a live. You know, in another 10 minutes we'll be done. And you can ask me questions on time boundaries, right? Ask me questions and I'll take the questions as much as I can, okay? So time boundaries. The other thing with time boundaries is that you are saying what is acceptable to you. It doesn't mean, like I said, you will not go out to be able to show commitment, which is like things like, oh, on this particular day of the week, I had already planned to go for salsa dancing, right? If you're into, if salsa is your thing, and then you say, oh, okay, because I have committed, to do this thing, but I can see that the team needs to get work done. Okay, I sacrifice my salsa, but I talk about it. So many of us will just say, okay, I will not go, I will keep quiet. No, I talk about it. So I say, I'd have really liked to go for this salsa now, but I can't go. I'll sacrifice. Next week I'll catch up, Jerry. Let me stay back and help the team to get this goal, right? You make the sacrifice and you let those people that you know that you're making sacrifice for be aware. Okay, you let those people know who you're making a sacrifice, which is your work team, you know, your boss or whoever. Let them be aware you're making a sacrifice to make work, so that when you say that you really can't make a sacrifice this particular time, all right, people can know that yes, for real, you know, you can't really make that sacrifice, all right. So that's what I think about time boundaries. One more thing on time boundaries, and I hope I was able to get to that boundaries today. One more thing on time boundaries is sometimes it's in the way you show up. So are you someone that comes to work late? If you're someone that comes to work late, it'll be tough to enforce time boundaries. If you get to work early, you sign on early, you log on early, it'll be tough for someone to say, oh, you have more grounds to be able to request that your time boundaries are respected. But if you always come to work late, if you're always one that gets in late, then there's a problem. All right? So you need to get to work early. If you're working virtually, log in early. Do you understand? So it's very okay. iCareer Boss asks a question. I will come to that. I'll come to the question. Okay. So time boundaries, setting those time boundaries is very, very important. It starts with you respecting yourself and showing that you respect your time and you respect your employer's time. All right. You respect your boss's time. So your boss has called for a meeting. Are you quick to log into the meeting? Are you quick to be present in the meeting room? Or are you one of those who is slacking? Taking your time to get to that meeting. The way you package yourself, the way you carry yourself, will determine how and if people are able to respect your boundaries, your time boundaries, all right? The way you carry and package yourself. So if you are not someone that gets in early, if you are someone that allows things to drag, or they say respond to a mail in 48 hours, you don't respond, and you don't say anything, you ignore. The things you do and the way you carry yourself will determine and will give you ammunition or be used against you. I say to you guys every time, right? I say to you that what you say and don't say, what you do and not do, can, will, and is being used for or against you. Okay? So if you don't respect people's time, if you don't respect your employer's time, then there's a problem. Alright? Nobody will naturally want to respect your time, and you find it difficult to enforce people to respect your time because you also are not carrying yourself that way. You see what I mean? Alright, you've got to carry yourself in a way that suggests that you want your time boundaries to be respected. So I'm going to answer the question before I go on. And I really didn't want this live to be long. So let me answer that question. And maybe we'll continue with other kinds of boundaries. Or maybe we'll continue with that next week. I don't know. So let's see. iCareer Boss asked a question. I don't know whether it's a she or a he. Says, how do you respond to your boss when they don't want to respect your boundaries at work? So I'll give you an example. Let me give more practical examples. So a boss has been calling you back to back late at night to get something done, and you don't respond. You maybe responded the first time and they continue. What you need to then do is ask yourself, can I have a direct conversation with this boss or not? Or what arsenal will I use? What combination of tools will I use? A direct conversation, my behavior. So for example, what I've done is I won't pick the calls that late, but 8 o'clock the following morning I must return that call, or 7:45. Do you understand? 7:45 in the morning I return the call. Oh, I'm sorry I missed your call. Or what I do sometimes is to text the person and say, oh, I'm in church, oh, I'm in the middle of something, please text me and I'll respond as soon as possible. Do you understand? But you can only do that when you've been able to build appropriately, respecting your boss, okay, themselves, all right, respecting their time, showing that you respect people's time. And I'm answering particularly for time boundaries. There are other kinds of boundaries, right? There's the mental boundaries, right, where you define how you are spoken to, what people say to you. You know, there's that. And that one is very detailed. There are career boundaries also, what you want for your career and all of that. But I don't think I can get into that today. So I'll just stop with time boundaries, all right? So you don't pick the call if it's late. You don't pick the call back to back, or you text, oh, I'm very busy with XYZ. Then the following morning, 7:45, you return the call. You may have to do that a couple of times, and then you may need to have a physical conversation, all right, where you go to the boss and you say, you know, it really interrupts my day. It really interrupts my thinking when I'm called so late, you know, and like again, I'm saying this to say, there are times I work really late, 10, 11, 12. I've been in my office in VI up till 11 before because I need to deliver something. So I'm not saying this to say that you should not make sacrifices. I'm saying it to say that if you realize that you need those boundaries for your wholeness, right, it will drive how you go about it. Then helps you to communicate to your boss why you need the boundaries. And then you then plan to respect those boundaries, all right? So you have a conversation, and your demeanor also are things that you can use to communicate to your boss, right, that these boundaries are very important to you, okay? So I hope I'm able to answer that question, career boss, all right? So, like I said, I don't want to make the lives too long so that people can catch up on the replay, you know, and get value from the replay as well, all right? So I want to say thank you to everyone who has been on this live. Like I said at the beginning, I really have missed coming on live. I'm the Happy Employee Coach, and one of the things I do is to help you craft a respectful and rewarding relationship with your boss, whether it's an individual boss as in one HOD or head of department, or it's ESCO or the board, all right? Now, next month in November, I'm going to be doing a webinar titled Securing Your Next Promotion/Salary Increase. Securing your next promotion/salary increase. People have put up the flyer, I think last week, and as we're going into this new month, I'm going to talk more about it. It's just 13,790. I've kept it very cheap and affordable, all right, so that people can sign up, okay, and you can be part of that webinar. It will be a 2-hour workshop where I will take you through how you can position and prepare yourself to secure your next promotion, all right? So please, let's click link in my bio, you know, or send me a DM and I'll answer any questions you have about that class. It's securing your next promotion/salary increase, all right? Tolu asks a question. How do you get a boundary as to what questions colleagues ask? E.g., colleagues that like asking questions about family. Okay, so Tolu, today I've talked about time boundaries, all right? I don't want the IG live to drag much longer. I want to talk about mental boundaries, and I think this will fall under the area of mental boundaries. So you can actually refuse to answer the question, and you can later on go to the person and say, I'd appreciate that you don't ask me those kind of questions, but I'm not comfortable talking about them. You actually can say that. Whether it's a senior colleague or it's a junior colleague, you actually can say that, right? I'd rather you don't ask me that kind of question. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Again, you know, I always say this thing, guys, that when you're giving feedback, your attitude is important. The state of your heart. You are going to give a feedback with a positive belief that the person will listen to you. Whether or not they listen to you is in their pocket. The first step is you having the conversation. That relieves you to a large extent, all right? Having the conversation relieves you to a huge extent, so have the conversation, okay? I'm more comfortable when you ask me this kind of question. It makes me uncomfortable. All right, so I hope that helps, Tolu. I hope that, and I'll delve a bit more into it. Maybe next week, I'll continue this topic, this matter of boundaries in the workplace. So if it's something that you really like to hear more of, you know, let me know in the comment section under this video. Tag your friends to come and watch the live. It's a short live. I remember that the webinar is coming up, Securing Your Next Promotion/Salary Increase, November 27th. It's just 13,790, less than 15K. less than that, new shoe you want to buy. Make the investment in your salary increase, make the investment in your career growth. All right. So thanks for being on the live. As a recap, we talked about today time boundaries. We talked about why boundaries are important. Okay, what boundaries mean, why they are important, because of we relate to each other as human beings in the workplace. Boundaries protect, boundaries preserve, boundaries define the limits of responsibility. Boundaries protect, very important. Boundaries retain you, help you retain your span of control. And every human being, every. So you see things like little kids, siblings say, oh, my daddy said, and they are saying, maybe they are saying it to their own brother or sister. They personalize the daddy, my daddy said. You rarely hear kids say things like our daddy. They can just say daddy said, or my daddy said, or my mommy said. So as human beings, we want to have a certain level of control, a span of control, a sense of, this thing is within, is for me. And that's why we need boundaries in the workplace. All right. I hope today has a value adding for you. Thanks for hanging with me. I'd like to ask that you tag friends, talk about being happy at work. And again, if you don't know, there are free resources in my bio. Go to the link in my bio to get the resources, all right, the free resources to help you to be happy at work, to advance your career, accelerate your growth, and launch you into a level of being happy at work. All right. So before we go, I usually say this. Let's say to ourselves, I'm a happy employee. I add value wherever I work. And I am treated with value wherever I work. Thank you guys for hanging with me. See you next week, Sunday evening. Sunday Tonic is served. Bye.